Good morning, you guys. I wanted to come on here really, really quick and just kind of give you a word of encouragement for this morning, for this day. And I want us to understand that our healing comes in our obedience, even in the small things. And so a lot of times we don't understand. I think a lot of times we look for the grand gestures. We look for God to do big miracle things and, manifest certain things in order for us to line up in obedience. But what I want us to understand is that your healing will come in the small things that you do that's obedient to God. So when I say our healing comes in the small things that we do that's in obedience to God, that means when we are willing to let go of what God tells us to let go. And it may seem big and grand to us, but to God it's insignificant. It's small. And so when we are choosing to line up in obedience with God and to let go of the very thing that God tells us to let go, or to do the very thing God tells us to do out of obedience to Him, that is when we start to see our healing manifest. That is when we start to see the power of who we are within God. That is when we start to see our lives start to transform. So I wanted to encourage you guys and let you know that it's not always in the big and grand gestures that God gonna give us, but God can give you the smallest thing to do. And it's in your obedience at that moment that you do it that will basically determine whether you receive your healing or whether you receive your miracle or whether you receive whatever you need to receive from God in that time. So, a lot of the times, like for me, like I give it a prime example of what I mean by it's in the small things that God tells us to be obedient to that will help us to heal from a lot. And when I say, as far as miracles, a miracle for me could be me just being healed from unhealed wounds or anything. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be a car. It doesn't have to be any of that stuff. It can just be simply God healing me spiritually from a lot of things and a lot of wounds that I was not healed from. To me, that is a miracle in itself when God can heal me internally so that I can be whole and complete to help other people. That by itself is a miracle for me. And so the prime example I'll give is this is that yesterday, and this is lining up in confirmation when God is telling us to do something in obedience, even in the small things, that is going to determine our outcome of how God moves in our lives. And I give you the prime example that yesterday, um, God kept telling me while I was in meditation, He kept telling me to let go of this particular item. So I was in meditation and I heard God so clearly tell me, He said, just let it go. Let it go. And it didn't take me long to make the decision to just let it go. It didn't take me long to make the decision to give back that item that God told me to give back to the person. And when I did that and I gave back and I did exactly what God told me to do in obedience, I heard God so clearly speak in my spirit, and He told me, He said, I'm going to bless you for that. Because you did not make it hard for them, I'm not going to make it hard for you, but I'm going to bless you. Because out of an act of obedience in what I told you to do, you willingly surrender the very thing I told you to surrender. And for that, I'm going to bless you for that. And that's exactly what I mean when it comes to the small things that can manifest your greatest healing. And so I really hope and pray that we get to a place where we stop looking for the grand things. We stop looking for all the money, stop looking for all the cars, but just start looking for the small things that God tells us to do. That could mean God could tell you to um call somebody just to tell them you love them. Those are small things. That could mean God could be telling you, okay, go to the grocery store, and walk down this aisle and bless this person with $20. You know what I'm saying? It's the small things that God tells us to do. It could be even working in the healthcare field. I work in the healthcare field. It could be God telling me to go the extra mile to do something for one of my clients. And it can be small to one person, but to God, that's big, that's major to him. And so in me doing that, what I've done was surrender to God's will. What I done was align myself in alignment with God's spirit to be obedient to the small things that he tells me to do. And that's what it means when we are willing to get in alignment, to understand that it is the small things that we do that will determine our obedience to God, that will determine who and what God does in our lives. So my encouragement is to just trust God. Trust God that when he tells you to do the most smallest, insignificant things that may look like that to you, trust that it's something great to God. It may not be great to you and other people, but it's great to God. And if God is telling you to do it out of obedience, it's because God is requiring something of you, because he wants to give you something greater than what you just had. So look for the little things, you guys. Like, for real, just look for the little things that God tells you to do. Like, even if it means being on YouTube and you click on a video, you may feel like that YouTuber is not a big YouTuber, or they're not a famous YouTuber, so I'm not going to watch him. But God could be leading you to a YouTube video to give you confirmation about something that he been speaking to your spirit. But because you feel like the YouTube video is not famous, or the person is not worldwide, or the person don't have a lot of subscribers, you're not going to listen. It's the small things of you being able to press that button and tap it and listen to what God is telling you to give you the confirmation. That right there in itself is obedience, because you tap that button enough to follow God's guidance to lead you to something that you needed for yourself today. So that's what I really wanted to come back on here this morning and share with you guys, that I promise y'all, it's not in the grandest gestures. Sometimes it's going to be small, insignificant things that God may require of you. And you just got to understand that it is worth it. It's worth it. Because in the end, God is going to give you what he desires to give you out of your obedience to him. And so look for the small things today, you guys. I'm just being honest. Look for the small things. It doesn't matter how small and insignificant it looks like. Look for the small things that God tells you to do today, because it's going to be productive tomorrow. It's going to be like a tenfold tomorrow. And it may not be exactly tomorrow, but whenever God is ready to bless you, it may be a tenfold off of that little insignificant thing that God told you to do. So whatever it may look like, you guys, look for the small things in today that God tells you to do. Don't look for the grandest things, just the smallest little things that God tells you to do, please. Because you can save someone else's life just by you hugging them, just by you telling them you love them, just by you being an ear, just by you being a supportive person that's willing to listen to them. No matter what it is that God is giving you the assignment to do today, just open your spirit, open your heart up, and understand that if God is telling you to do it, it's because it's a greater purpose behind what God needs for you to do. But God also will require something of us in order to give us something back from him. And that's what I want us to get to, a place of understanding that, yes, it's going to be a lot of things that we won't, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are going through a lot of financial struggles and everything. And a lot of people can sometimes close their spirit and their heart off to what God needs them to do as far as in that moment, because they feel like, okay, nothing ain't going right with me, so why I'm going to be open to help somebody else. But what you don't realize is that one act of faith, That one act of service to another person out of pure love, that can open a door for you that you never imagined. That can push God to position you to open a door for you that you didn't even know was going to be open for you. But it took for you to step in that place of obedience with God. It took for you to step in that place of positioning yourself to do the very thing God told you to do in order to receive what God has for you now. So I just wanted to come on here really quick and just encourage you guys. Look at the little things. Look at the little things that God needs you to do in obedience to Him. And that's where your healing is going to take place at too. Sometimes step back out of your body and understand that it ain't about trying to always, be on top. It ain't about trying to always feel like you got to prove things to other people. It's not about always trying to look for the great things that God is giving you, when you can just be grateful that you got a roof over your head. You can be grateful that you were able to wake up and take a breath in your body. You can be grateful that you were able to walk onto your job and help somebody else and give them that love and pour that love out on them and let them know that they worthy and you love them. You see what I'm saying? It's the little things that we do. It can be you hugging somebody on your job. It can be you telling somebody that they are beautiful and special, whatever it may be. Look for the little things that God is telling and pulling on your spirit to do, because that is the act of obedience of where your healing will begin to even manifest in those things. I love you. You guys have a blessed day, and I'm going back to work. Bye-bye.